The camera comes on with a shot of the live crowd in the Scotiabank Saddledome in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. As pyro goes off around the stage area, Violet Orlandi's cover of Black Sabbath's War Pigs starts to play through the arena. Generals gathered in their masses. Just like witches at black masses. Evil minds that plot destruction. Sorcerer of death's construction. In the fields, the bodies burning. As the war machine keeps turning. Death and hatred to mankind. Poisoning their brainwashed minds. Oh Lord, yeah. Politicians hide themselves away. They only started the war. Why should they go out to fight? They leave that role to the poor, yeah. Time will tell on their power minds. Making war just for fun. Treating people just like pawns in chess. Wait till their judgment day comes, yeah. Now in darkness, world stops turning. Ashes where their bodies burning. No more war pigs have the power. Hand of God has struck the hour. Day of judgment, God is calling. On their knees, the war pigs crawling. Begging mercy for their sins. Satan laughing, spreads his wings. Oh Lord, yeah. The Warzone logo comes up onto the screen as a series of pyro goes off. 125 fans, of a capacity of 19,200, had joined the CWF tonight in the Saddledome. The camera then cuts to our announcers, Ben Price and Fast Eddie Vega. Ben Price, greetings, salutations, and welcome to episode 5 of season 3 for the Conquest Wrestling Federation. Tonight is our go-home show before Shadow Warfare. Eddie Vega, and tonight we're starting to go hardcore, and it'll continue until Shadow Warfare. Ben Price, last Vanguard, we found out that Wicked Cat Hale will be challenging for the Tempest Championship at the Vanguard pre-show for Shadow Warfare, and we found out that Stever Murdoch vs Monster Mammoth will be an exploding barbed wire deathmatch. Eddie Vega, we also know that the Bastards are going to be challenging for the 4 WWE Legion Championships, and of course we'll have an Elite X match for the now vacant Elite Championship. Ben Price, top that off, after the ending of last Warzone, Greg Salazar will be challenging for the new 4 Wins Championship, held by Rob Riot. And of course, Frank Windsor will be challenging Cronin Reinhardt for the CWF Conquest Championship. Eddie Vega, Bastards will have so many championships after Shadow Warfare. Ben Price, and that brings us to the show we have for you tonight. First off, a quick update, Tongite's main event has been changed. The Valor Championship will come on before that. As now, Ira Waters will be getting a chance to dethrone Cronin Reinhardt before Shadow Warfare. Eddie Vega, well that's one way for him to get out of facing Frank Windsor, let Ira Waters take the belt. Ben Price, well so far no one has ever successfully defended the Conquest Championship. Will Ira Waters go into Shadow Warfare as the Conquest Champion? Eddie Vega, and that means that our Valor Championship match tonight is a follow-up, and now Gabriel Tuck will face the defending Valor Champion, Abigail Dresden in her third defense. Ben Price, also, will have Tarask taking on Rob Riot in a non-title matchup. Eddie Vega, I'm looking forward to that one, for many reasons. But the match I'm really looking forward to is the new 4 WWE Maelstrom Champion, Eddie Williams taking on the challenger of Rob Riot at Shadow Warfare, Greg Salazar in a death match. Ben Price, you'd of course love that one. Of course those who love hardcore wrestling will have that match to wet your whistles before the exploding barbed wire death match at Shadow Warfare, and the last man standing match that Greg Salazar challenged Rob Riot to, and that has been accepted. Eddie Vega, but first, we're about to see 1/3 of the Bastards against 1/3 of the Upstarts as the future Conquest Champion. Frank Windsor will take on Miguel Lanza, Jr. Ben Price, the Dreadnought has had a bad run so far in the CWF, he lost to Eddie Williams last week due to a tights pull. Can the 6 feet 8 inches Puerto Rican Eddie Vega, now this is going to be an awesome match. It's not every day that Frank goes up against someone as monstrous as his opponent. Ben Price, Frank needs to do something tonight as he's been on a losing streak going into his CWF Conquest Championship match with Cronin. Eddie Vega, here is his opponent now. Ben Price, he is bloody huge. As Disturbs Won't Back Down starts to play over the arena's PA system, the big man from Puerto Rico walks out. He raises up his left hand in a fist as he stands there one moment to take in whatever the crowd's reaction may be tonight. Once he's ready, he makes his way down to the ring, occasionally giving the fans what is a very high five for them. Once he gets to the ring, he reaches up and pulls himself to the apron via pulling the top rope. He then enters, stepping over the ropes and starts to get ready for this matchup. Ben Price, he's waiting for Frank. Cameras pan around the sea of anxious people who are cheering loudly at the showing of respect towards the bastards. Suddenly, the cheering explodes as the loudspeakers crackle, all attention devoted to these very special proceedings. A large British flag unfolds from the rafters and hangs majestically over the ring area, each ear expecting to hear the music of Frank Windsor. The big screen started to show all sorts of British iconic sights. Children playing in the streets, football matches, police in the streets. The first few bars of Hello by Adele blares out before it seamlessly mixes into Welcome to the Circus by Five Finger Death Punch. Brilliant silver strobe lights flash through the arena as rainbow-colored confetti falls from the rafters. The screen now goes to show footage of Frank in his silver Mercedes convertible cruising the streets of Bradford, Yorkshire. Eric Wilson, introducing at this time his opponent, hailing from Bradford, Yorkshire, England. He is weighing in at 222 pounds. This is Frank Windsor. The curtains at the top of the rampway are pushed open and he emerges. The fans give a mixed reaction as Frank pushes through the curtains dressed in his leopard print fur coat. Frank saunters down the rampway, eyeing the crowd. Windsor exhales slowly as he looks at the crowd before smiling and acknowledging the fans in attendance with a royal wave. He reaches the ringside area and uses the stairs to ascend onto the apron. Looking around momentarily, Windsor mounts the turnbuckle adjacent to the stairs, resting his left foot on the top rope. With a brief bow, Windsor lowers the hood of his leopard fur coat and gazes around the facility, soaking in the numerous reactions from the crowd. Upon listening to their calls and hops down into the ring and takes off his fur coat revealing the 2 belts he has on and hands it to the ring crew. He then stands and unclips both of the belts and hands them to the ring crew. Looks at his opponent, the 2 men stand looking at each other. Ben Price, those belts are not recognized in CWF. Ben. Eddie Vega, why are you telling me this? The Bastards World Championship belt was won fair and square. Almost as if on cue, Frank rears back and he smacks the taste out of Miguel's mouth. Miguel does an about-face and turns his back to Frank while holding his jaw. Frank arrogantly moves back a few feet, and he runs at Miguel and takes him down with a drop kick to the back of his knees. Frank wastes no time in going for the cover. 1. Easy kick out by Miguel. Frank looks at the referee for this match, and he screams a few obscenities at him. This moment's lapse allows Miguel to regain his feet and turn towards Frank. Frank meanwhile pokes a finger in the eye of the giant Miguel. He headbutts Miguel right in the groin. Miguel puts his hands on his groin for comfort, and he falls forward onto the mat. Frank smiles and he begins stomping on Miguel's head. After a few moments, he picks up Miguel, and he gives him a hard Irish whip into the corner. The velocity from the whip causes Miguel to come out of the corner quickly, and right into a spinning heel kick from Frank. He goes for the cover. 1. 2. Kick out by Miguel. Ben Price, Eddie, Frank seems to be taking it to Miguel? Eddie Vega, do. I've got eyes, you fool. Miguel picks up Frank and he chops him hard in the chest, causing the crowd to hoot in awe of the sound. Miguel looks at the crowd and he raises his hand in the air again, ready to chop his opponent again. Before he can, Frank jumps and headbutts Miguel right in the nose. Miguel moves back a few feet, holding his nose while blood streams out of it. Frank immediately grabs Miguel by the back of his hair, and he throws him over the top ropes and outside to the floor. Miguel, who is now on his knees, crawls towards the ring barrier, where he rests his hands and tries his best to get to his feet. Frank waits anxiously on the inside of the ring. And as soon as Miguel brings himself to his feet, Frank comes diving through the ropes with a suicide dive, taking both men hard into the ring barrier. Eddie Vega, Frank's going old school lucha on the big man. Ben Price, but he's fighting Miguel, and there's a lot at stake. He has to use whatever he can to beat someone the size of Miguel. The crowd erupts in chants of holy shit and CWF as the 2 guys lie on the cold protective mats on the outside of the ring. Frank, understandably, is the first man to his feet. He slides back in the ring and lies on his back. With Miguel getting to his feet again, this time with the help of the ring apron, Frank springs to his feet in a kip-up, showing some athleticism, and he again bounces off the ropes. When he comes to where Miguel is, on the opposite side of the ring where he started running, he goes for a baseball slide. Miguel moves out of the way, just in the nick of time. Frank lands on his feet, and he immediately stares at Miguel. Miguel kicks him in the gut, and he goes for a pump handle slam turned into a Michinoku driver on the hard protective mats. Ben Price, oh shit. Sorry, but that was devastating. Eddie Vega, I apologize to the viewers for Ben's language. Miguel gets to his feet, and he slides into the ring. The blood that began to stream down his nose is still flowing, it is now covering his entire chest. He waves at his fans and still has a smile on his face. As the referee begins counting, Frank rests one of his hands on the apron. When the referee reaches 5, Frank uses every ounce of energy left in him, and he pulls himself into the ring. Miguel runs at Frank and he gives him a small drop kick to the head. Frank slowly rolls into the ring. Eddie Vega, that has got to hurt. Miguel and Frank lock up. Miguel tries for an armbar but he counters with a clothesline by Frank. Miguel is knocked down. Frank runs and hits Miguel in his head with a leg drop. Frank pulls Miguel to his feet. Frank points to the fans at ringside and gives them the thumbs up. He locks up with Miguel and hits a DDT on him. Frank drives his head into the mat. Miguel is taken down. He rolls up Miguel. 1, 2. Kick out. Ben Price, Miguel is looking a bit overconfident. That could be his downfall. Eddie Vega, do you have any idea how scripted you sound? Where's the cue card? They both get up. Miguel connects with a swift right punch to the side of Frank's head, phasing him, but not grounding him. Miguel opts to try again, this time with his left hand, throwing another punch at Frank. This time, however, Frank blocks the punch and grabs Miguel's wrist, pushing down on it and creating pressure on the joint. Miguel slowly falls to his knees, struggling to push back, but the power is too much for him. Miguel twists and manages to reverse it. He stands in all his glory, keeping his grip locked, smiling at his plaything Frank. Frank's rage all flows to his shaking foot, and as he screams out in hate, a kick straight into the face of Miguel stuns the crowd. Ben Price, Jesus Christ. That kick looked stiff. Eddie Vega, who cares? Miguel rolls out of the ring to regain his composure. He shakes his head, knocking the cobwebs out of it. Frank leans on the ropes, mind wandering, glancing between Miguel and the other side of the ring. Calculating distance, Frank performs a practice run against the ropes, turning it into a somersault just to annoy the fans with his stalling. Once again he turns to Miguel, smiling through his teeth. Walking backwards, Frank flies against the ropes with fierce tenacity and runs toward where Miguel stands, hopping on top of the upper rope and diving onto Miguel with a corkscrew plancha. Frank rolls off of Miguel's body following the move, holding his midsection in pain. Ben Price, it looks as if that excellent maneuver hurt Frank just about as much as it hurt Miguel. The fans, despite his obvious depression of late, seem to enjoy that high spot. Yet, if Frank keeps taking risks like that, I'll sincerely think he'll get that belt off of Cronin at the pay-per-view. Eddie Vega, listen, Frank can fly around like a damn jumping bean all he wants, it won't help him. For Cronin is defending something much bigger than his own selfish needs, he's defending the CWF Conquest Championship belt. Still outside the ring, Frank lifts Miguel up and grabs him by the wrist this time around. Locking up with his other arm, Frank begins to swing around and release, sending Miguel into the guardrail with an Irish whip. Miguel collapses to his knees following the connection with the steel while Frank runs forward and leaps off of Miguel's own back, landing on top of the guardrail in front of the fans live. Not looking back at all, Frank once again leaps, this time with a moonsault. Paying the price for his not paying attention, Frank connects with the bare ground as a revived Miguel rolls out of the way. Frank rolls over onto his back gasping for air, Miguel crawling back onto the ring apron and answering Frank's attack with an aerial headbutt. Landing perfectly, it would have been the opportune time for a pinfall, however Miguel immediately realizes that they're still outside of the ring. Eddie Vega, now that hurts. Miguel gets up slowly off of Frank's body, grabbing his still laid out opponent by his belt and rolls him into the ring. Frank now lies inside of the ring, slightly bleeding from the left side of his face, while Miguel runs around the ring rallying himself. Eddie Vega, that's a mistake, go for the pin. Go for the pin. As Miguel wastes his time posing and primping for the cameras, Frank flips up to his feet, rushing over to Miguel and reaching under his legs. Frank slowly picks Miguel up, trying to climb the turnbuckle at the very same time. He reaches the top with Miguel hoisted on his shoulders, and in a reckless move, Frank seemingly defies gravity by driving Miguel's body down to the canvas with a sit-down powerbomb. Ben Price, what the hell? Eddie Vega, you can say that again. If you do, I'll hit you. Frank slams a knee into Miguel's stomach, taking him down with a vicious jumping DDT. Frank immediately runs to the turnbuckles, running up them and then spinning around, leaping off with a shooting star press onto Miguel. The ref drops to the mat and begins his count. 1, 2. Miguel kicks out as the ref's hand is a millimeter from the mat. Ben Price, close fall from him, laugh arrogantly, whoops. Eddie Vega, yeah, I don't think you were supposed to read that line, slick. Ben Price, shut up Eddie, one of these days man. Frank slowly gets to his feet first, nailing Miguel with another DDT following up by several elbow drops and a cover. Miguel kicks out after one, but looks disoriented. Frank runs to the ropes and looks for a springboard flying clothesline, but Miguel intercepts him in midair with a spear, slamming Frank into the turnbuckles with enough force to rock the ring. Miguel tries to bulldog Frank out of the corner, but Frank shoves him off, following up with a leg drop. Ben Price, I think Frank's just found the proverbial chink in Miguel's armor. Now if he can capitalize. Frank lifts Miguel to his feet and locks his arms around him, trying to throw him over in a belly-to-belly overhead suplex, but Miguel picks up Frank. He Irish whips Frank into the ropes. On his return, Miguel grabs Frank and throws him up into the air, but before he can finish the move, Frank lands feet first on Miguel's shoulders. He shrugs at the hard camera before leaping off into a huge Hurricane Rana. The move spiked the top of Miguel's head on the mat. Frank lands in a superhero-type pose. Eddie Vega, oh my god. Ben Price, big move by Frank, that was freaking amazing. Eddie Vega, that was bloody awesome. He landed standing up on his freaking shoulders. Ben Price, I know, I was watching too. The referee, dropping to count, doesn't notice Frank getting leverage from the ropes, and counts. 1, 2, 3. Ben Price, he's done it. Frank has broken his losing streak. The referee goes to raise Frank's arm, but Frank pulls it away. He gets on the top turnbuckle and points at the pay-per-views poster on the rampway and shouts abuse. Ben Price, something of a sore winner though. Eddie Vega, who cares? He won the match. Ben Price, next up, we have, hold on. There's something going on backstage. Eddie Vega, is it me getting blown? Wait no, I'm here and not there. Damn it. The camera suddenly cuts to a scene backstage where there is a lot of noise and yelling coming from the locker room. As the camera enters, it sees Mad Morales sitting down on the bench, getting out a cigarette, his fist covered in blood as the bodies of lower card wrestlers litter the ground, beaten and bruised. Morales turns to look at the camera as he lights it. Mad Morales, this what you wanted, right? When you cheated me out of my earned title shot? Shoulder up too late my ass, you were scared that, unlike your choice of Hale, I was about to walk into Shadow Warfare and walk out the Tempest champion, but that wouldn't do right? Someone like me, representing CWF into the world, that can't be. So you plotted against me, you cheated me out of the glory I had earned, so let this be a message for this weekend. Because a little birdie told me that there was an open spot in the Elite X, since my weekend is suddenly free, I decided, fuck it, why not? I will be taking that spot, and in case anyone back there has some issues with that, and if you are thinking about stealing from me again, think about how many more you will end up sending to the hospital, because I can't touch you, but I can hurt the people you pay. You will either see me covered in gold, or covered in blood. The scene fades to black as Mad flicks his cigarette at it. Ben Price, that was really unacceptable. Attacking the enhancement talent like that. Eddie Vega, Armand has stated that something like this is not allowed. Valora will be only too happy to bring out the lead pipe of law against him. Ben Price, someone should, that's for sure. Next up? Eddie Williams takes on Greg Salazar in a no-holds-barred match? Eddie Vega, I don't recall, but I think it's going to be uber violent. Ben Price, you would think that Eddie would not want things to get so violent. Eddie Vega, he is the Maelstrom champion, so why not? Ben Price, but first, let's get to a commercial. Thames. A global mail-order company named after a famous river, definitely no slave labor involved. The show comes back and the camera is on the ring. Ben Price, welcome back. We're jumping right to the ring for action for our death match tonight. Eric Wilson, the following matchup is a no-holds-barred DATHMATCH. Pinfalls and submissions will count anywhere in the arena. Additionally, hardcore rules for weapons are in effect. Ben Price, is this the first time the CWF will be doing an actual deathmatch rules matchup? Eddie Vega, I think so. Eric Wilson, introducing first. He currently hails from Seattle, Washington. Coming in at 6 feet 1 inch and 230 lbs, representing Bad Company, he is the Paragon Gregory Michael Salazar. The screen over the stage spells out his name, Gregory Michael Salazar, and then switches to his initials, GMS, as his band's cover of Limits by Bad Omens starts to play. GMS steps out. Tonight he's wearing the trousers to a U.S. Marine Corps combat utility uniform in the woodland camouflage pattern with combat boots. On his upper body he's wearing a new Bad Company t-shirt, with him in the center spot on the lineup. As he starts to walk down to the ring, he's also wrapping tape around his fists, not wearing his usual MMA-style gloves. Ben Price, no wrestling tights tonight. Eddie Vega, why is he wearing camouflage, though? We're in Canada but not wrestling in the wilderness. Ben Price, that's part of his old Marine uniform there. Probably went with woodland because the other option is desert camo. But we have to notice, he's not wearing his usual fighting gloves tonight. Eddie Vega, well, we were told we were getting a death match. As GMS approaches the ring, we see that there are a few trash cans full of various things outside the ring, as well as a couple of wheeled gardening wagons with even more implements to use. Ben Price, and this is smart for Greg Salazar to accept, why? Eddie Vega, it's not. Eddie Williams went to that other federation and actually did hardcore matches like this, and as we heard, he had actually won their underground championship at that pay-per-view that didn't air. Now he's been given the Maelstrom title to replace it. I dare say, with Valora Salinas retiring and becoming a partial owner, he might be by definition the most hardcore wrestler we have in the CWF. Ben Price, people like Steve Murdoch and Monster Mammoth would argue that, and they're having an exploding barbed wire deathmatch at Shadow Warfare. Eddie Vega, until they have that match and make it through, they're not quite at the level of Salinas or Williams yet. GMS climbed up into the ring, and starts to pace around. He stays on his side of the ring, letting them announce Williams to come out. The ramp starts to flood with smoke as Here We Go by Chris Classic, Foot Eminem, starts to play over the arena's PA system. A figure appears in the entranceway with his arms crossed. A series of fireworks go off along the top of the entrance ramp. The light adjusts back to normal. Eddie starts to walk down the ramp. This is when it becomes clear he's wearing the mask he'd put in his promotional material leading up to this matchup. Eric Wilson, and now, his opponent tonight, from Cambridge, Essex, England. He comes in at 5 feet 11 inches and 215 lbs, representing the stable of the Bastards. He is also the inaugural, and reigning 4 wins wrestling Maelstrom champion, Eddie Williams. Ben Price, what is he wearing? Eddie Vega looks like some freaky mask. He showed one during his promos. Looks like he's going all in on the hardcore. Ben Price, not sure that's going to help him tonight. Eddie Vega, what's going to help Greg Salazar? He's not a hardcore guy. He's not done hardcore. He was a pure wrestling zealot as Tetsuo Oni, and continues that path now that he's with Bad Company. He slowly and methodically makes his way toward the ring, bathing in the reaction of the fans within the arena. As he passes by the first trash can full of weapons, he grabs it by the handle, and slides it under the bottom rope, before climbing the steps and entering between the ring ropes. Ben Price, and the Maelstrom champion wasting no time making sure the first weapons are in the ring to use. Eddie enters the ring standing with his arms raised and fireworks go off from the 4 turnbuckles. Walking over to the furthest turnbuckle and climbs up to the middle rope. He looks out across the crowd. As his music dies down, he waits near the corner, pacing back and forth ready for the match to start. Ben Price, as we are getting ready for Leroy Wallace to get the match started, I've just been informed of a massive update for Shadow Warfare, involving the just mentioned exploding barbed wire match between the hardcore icon Steve Murdoch and Monster Mammoth. Eddie Vega, what? What is it? Ben Price, that match is now a #1 contendership for the 4 Wins Maelstrom Championship. The winner of that match will get a shot at Eddie Williams and his 4 Wins title on Season 3 Episode 6 of Warzone. The Warzone after Shadow Warfare. Eddie Vega, holy. Okay, that's adding to their match significantly. Leroy Wallace calls Williams and Salazar to the middle of the ring and gives them the rundown on the matchup. The camera picks him up. Williams upends the trash can into the ring before walking over and grabs a kendo stick. Leroy Wallace, pretty much, boys. I don't care what you hit each other with. Pinfalls and submissions count anywhere. Nothing is off the table except if I see arterial spray. Canada says I have to call Stitch over to check you to see if you can continue. I am not ready to take a ref bump tonight. I'm not out here to pretend I'm back in Hell's Kitchen, got it? Do whatever you want to each other, but leave me out of it. Both men nod, and Wallace then signals for the bell. Ding! Ding! Williams instantly pulls back with the kendo stick. He swings, and hits Salazar right on the side of his head. He pulls back again, and hits him again, this time on the shoulder. Salazar backs up a bit, and Williams presses forward with it. He pulls back again, and this time when he goes to hit, GMS does a double arm block, grabs the kendo stick and then pulls Williams into a modified hip toss using the kendo stick to launch him over. Ben Price, not sure using a kendo stick on someone who is trained in kendo is the smartest move here. GMS flips the kendo stick around, catching it by the handle. He then spins it in his hands, going into an underhand hold on it. Williams comes up to his feet quickly. He goes running across to the ropes on the other side, catching the ropes and stopping. He reaches down into the pile of things that had fallen out of the trash can, and brings up a 2-foot length of chain. He comes running up on Salazar and swings the chain at him, which is caught by a block using the kendo stick. Ben Price, the Maelstrom champion, is not wasting any time in getting to the weapons here. Eddie Vega, if they're legal, you go for it. Ben Price, I guess. Salazar blocks another swing, then reaches up and grabs the chain. He pulls the chain in, and tries for some sort of strike with the kendo stick along his arm. Williams ducks under it and slams his shoulder into Salazar's midsection. He lifts the larger man up and forces him back to the turnbuckle. He gives him a few shoulders to the midsection before stepping away. Ben Price, Williams taking it to Salazar. It'd be a message today if Eddie Williams takes down the man who challenges for Rob Riot's 4 Wins title. Eddie Vega, not to mention, a bit of redemption for him after got cheated out of the Valor Championship. Ben Price, well, the way he's wrestling now, not sure the Valor title is something good for him. Williams goes running in and nails GMS with a huge super kick in the corner. He bounces off, and then comes running back up, stepping up onto the bottom rope, and hitting a forearm smash to the side of Salazar's head, with the chain wrapped around his arm. Eddie Vega, there you go. Take him down hard and early. Williams then spins around, and swings that length of chain at GMS. It looks like Salazar tried to duck out of the way, but he gets a glancing blow that wraps back around the top of his head. Salazar staggers out of the corner a bit. Ben Price, well, that's one way to get things started. Williams waits one moment, and as Salazar turns, he hits him with a Pele kick. He quickly gets back up, hits the ropes and comes off with an elbow right to GMS sternum. He tries for a pinfall. Wallace is quick to get down and checks Salazar's shoulders are down. 1. 2. GMS kicks out. Ben Price, 2 count by the Maelstrom champion. Salazar rolls for the ropes and falls to his feet outside of the ring. He starts to walk around, shaking his left arm after the shots to that shoulder and trapezius with the chain and the forearm smash. Williams scrambles to his feet and rushes the ropes on the other side. He rushes across to the side that Salazar is on and dives through the top and second rope for a tope suicida. But Salazar sees it coming, and he catches him in a lung buster on the outside. Ben Price, sniper shot 2 on the outside. Eddie Vega, some of these people just have too many damn moves. Whatever happened to the 7 moves of doom? Ben Price, people realized they sucked? Salazar catches Williams as he gets up. He tries to hook him for a ring toss suplex, but Williams gets out of it before it's launched. Williams finds the lid of the trash can in the ring and grabs it, swinging it widely and catching GMS in the side of the head. He then sets up for a Russian leg sweep, aiming for the ringside barricade. Both men hit pretty hard and lay there for a few seconds after impact. Eddie Vega, they both hit the barricade pretty hard. Eddie, don't sacrifice yourself so much so early. The bastards need to win this. Williams comes around first, taking a moment to try to go for a pinfall. Wallace is there, and he counts. 1. Salazar gets his shoulder up. Ben Price, Williams took too long to try for that pin. Williams gets up and heads for another trash can. He picks it up and empties it out. He then reaches down and picks up what looks like a baseball bat. He then stalks over to where Salazar is coming up to his feet. He swings wildly, bugs Salazar, ducks under it, comes up and then takes him over the barricade in a ring toss suplex. Williams crashes into some seats that just a second before had been full of fans. Salazar gets back up to his feet and climbs over the barricade. He grabs one of the chairs and folds it into his hands. He brings it down onto Williams as he's getting up. Williams takes the hit on his back and then grabs his own chair as he scuttles away. Eddie Vega, okay, for those at home who think that these are fake, we couldn't rig chairs people were just sitting in and have them sitting in them. Especially some of these people up here in Calgary. Ben Price, did you just say that? Eddie Vega, hey, just spitting facts. These chairs are not rigged to break and bend if you sneeze on them like some other federations out there. Williams blocks another chair shot with a hard swing. He follows up with a headshot that knocks Salazar down to one knee. As the camera goes around, we see that GMS has also been busted open and his forehead is starting to bleed. Eddie Vega, too bad this wasn't a first blood match. Ben Price, well, I'll give you that one. First blood goes to the Maelstrom champion. Williams brings his chair up over his head, going for an overhead strike, but Salazar brings his up, almost throwing it into Williams' midsection. When Williams doubles over, Salazar grabs his chair from him and smashes it into his back. He pulls back and does it again, and again. Williams starts to scramble away again, heading through the crowd until he gets to one of the barren walkways between the chair sections. Salazar keeps coming and pulls his chair back. He's met by a super kick that catches the chair and slams it into his face. Salazar stumbles, dropping the chair to the floor. Williams then steps in and grabs GMS and takes him down on top of the chair with a reverse STO. He tries to roll Salazar over for another pinfall. 1. 2. Salazar gets his shoulder up. Williams gets up and tries to get into a mount position, but Salazar pulls him into some sort of military-style chokehold. Williams' feet kick about as Salazar rolls him over with the hold in place. Wallace checks Williams' shoulders, and at first they're not down, but when they do get down, he counts. 1. Williams twists his body and gets his shoulder up. Ben Price, I noticed that Leroy Wallace is pretty much calling this one down the middle. Eddie Vega, you think? Ben Price, what's that supposed to mean? Eddie Vega, well, what happened when Kintaro tried to buy his favor against Tetsuo Oni III? Ben Price, oh, right. Iron fist to the face. Williams manages to get a hold of one of Salazar's hands and appears to bite down on it. Salazar scrambles up off of him to get free of the bite. When Williams comes up to his feet, he heads further down the hallway and goes through a door. As Salazar gets up and follows, the camera follows as well, coming into the backstage area where the concourse and passageways to support the arena are. Ben Price, I'm sorry, but I'm told we're going long on this match and we must break for a commercial. We'll catch you up on the action once we're back. Fed UPS day or night. For when you need it there, right TF now. The show comes back, and we're backstage with Eddie Williams and Gregory Salazar fighting in what looks like a loading dock area. Ben Price, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're picking up on this death match between Greg Salazar and Eddie Williams. When we left, they had just entered the backstage area. To catch you up, they've been tossing each other left and right into things, and hitting each other more. One thing of note was this. A picture-in-picture comes on, showing Salazar fighting with Williams as they get near a gated storage area. When Williams hits the gate, it pops open behind him and he stumbles back through. As Salazar then lunges at him, Williams catches him with the gate, holds his arm against the fencing and starts to slam the gate into Salazar's face repeatedly. Eddie Vega, look at the crimson mask that Greg Salazar wears now. The picture-in-picture goes away, and it focuses on the fighting again. It picks up as GMS catches Williams for a snapping exploder suplex. This takes him hard to the concrete floor, just a few feet from what is now a visible drop-off of about 10 feet below. As the camera comes up, it catches a large pallet with a large box or group of boxes on it below. Ben Price, I'm not liking the looks of that. As Salazar comes up, he looks down into the dock area and shakes his head. He starts to pull Williams up, but gets caught with a low blow that scores a good solid hit. Ben Price, that is going to be a huge fall. Eddie Vega, and I want to know what's in the box. Ben Price, that's a big box, so it's not a mannequin head of Gwyneth Paltrow. Williams floats behind Salazar and gets him into a waist lock. He lifts, trying for a German suplex, but Salazar blocks it. He tries again, and it's blocked again. Williams uses his elbow and then forearm on the back of Salazar's head a few times and then takes him over in a belly-to-back suplex instead. Their landing on top of the box causes a series of loud pops and dust of some sort flies out. The box rips apart on the impact. When both men roll out of it, glass shards can be seen around them. Salazar, from landing on it, comes up with some cuts on his chest. He quickly uses his taped hands to brush the glass off and get it out of the wounds. Ben Price, that was a huge box of fluorescent light bulbs. Williams gets up and quickly checks himself for any glass and removes it. He then starts looking through the wreckage for maybe a whole light tube. Eddie Vega, the Maelstrom champion, had to go down with his victim there, but thankfully Salazar took the brunt of that landing. Williams grabs a light bulb, maybe 4 or 5 feet long, that survived the wreckage. He charges at Salazar, who is coming up, and swings wildly. Salazar ducks under and hooks him for a half Nelson suplex. He tosses Williams back into the crushed box area with his ring toss suplex. Williams lands hard, now just a crushed box on an extra-large pallet. The wood pallet cracks audibly. Williams rolls out of the massive glass and now broken wood. Ben Price, and now Williams has some cuts on his body as well. Salazar looks around at the destruction of the box and all of the light bulbs. He reaches into the pocket in his combat trousers and pulls out a roll of military EB green-style duct tape. He starts to wrap both hands, first one way, then twisting and wrapping the other, leaving it mostly sticky side up. Ben Price, what is Greg Salazar doing here with that tape? Eddie Vega, I've not seen anything like that since that one bookie tried to collect in Atlantic City. Ben Price, what? Salazar crawls over to the box and massive broken glass and starts to roll his now sticky taped hands in it, both the knuckles and the palms. He gets up and starts to stalk Eddie Williams, who appears to have found a broom closet. Eddie Vega, oh now, that's exactly what the guy who worked for that bookie did. Williams spins around and launches himself at Salazar, a broom in his hand. He hits Salazar in the chest with it, knocking him backwards. They both struggle and Williams pushes him back to a concrete wall. He appears to be trying to get the broom's handle across Salazar's throat. Ben Price, and this is what I don't like about these kinds of matches. They quickly turn into an attempted murder. Salazar suddenly reaches out and grabs Williams' forehead. He then rakes the glass-covered tape down across his flesh. Williams lets the broom go and steps back holding his forehead. Ben Price, OUCH. That one had to hurt. Salazar starts to use some martial arts style punches, 3 quick snapping jabs, hitting Williams to his chest, midsection and then his face, with his glass-covered hands. The snap on each one drags it a bit across the skin after impact, leaving small micro cuts. Eddie Vega, okay, that's not something I'd expect. Salazar turns around, uses his foot to bring the broom up to his hands. He snaps the broom over his knee, then twists and spins both halves of the broom around in his hands like 2 tonbas staves. He turns back around and starts to use them for strikes that drive Eddie Williams off balance, trying to block them or take them onto softer parts of his body. Salazar finally manages to use the half with the broom, a wider broom head, to hook Williams' foot to take him down to his back. Ben Price, I don't think that's how Eddie Williams wanted that broom used. Salazar tosses both broom halves aside before he pulls up a fist and drops it down across Williams' forehead. But after the impact, he pushes it in and starts to twist and move his fist around the impact area. Eddie Vega, oh, not sure I can watch that part too much more. That's bringing up some bad memories and some PTSD there. When Salazar pulls his fist away, Williams grabs some stuff off the ground and throws it into his face. Salazar rolls away, and Williams gets up quickly. He grabs a metal trash can handle and knocks it over. He quickly kicks Salazar to the midsection, grabs him into a double underhook and drops him down with a DDT on top of the knocked over can. Williams rolls Salazar over and tries for a pinfall. Wallace is right there to make the count. Ben Price, the Maelstrom champion, with a butterfly DDT on top of a trash can. 1, 2. TH. Salazar gets his shoulder up and rubs his tape and glass-covered hand all over Williams' face while doing it. Ben Price, near fall there, but those taped-up hands are going to be a nuisance to Eddie Williams. Eddie Vega, we need to do something about those taped-up hands. They're covered in glass now. That can't be legal here. Ben Price, but anything is legal in this match. Salazar gets up and still appears to have some issues with what had been thrown in his face earlier. He finds an industrial eyewash station next to the broom closet and starts to use it. Ben Price, well, that's convenient. As Salazar turns away from the eyewash station, Williams grabs him and whips him into a stack of crates for the production equipment. The stack falls down with the impact. He runs up to where Salazar fell into the stack and pulls him up. He pulls him up and lays him over one of the larger crates, and then steps up onto it as well. Eddie Vega, come on, Eddie. Just finish it already. He pulls Salazar up on top of the crate and then pulls his head in between his legs. He starts to hook him for a package piledriver but can't quite get it cinched in to pull him up. As soon as Salazar gets both feet back down, he comes back with his signature scorpion kick. Williams backs off, the kick missing him, hopping down off the crate. Ben Price, and Eddie Williams dodges the scorpion kick. Salazar jumps off the crate and hits Williams in the chest with a jumping side kick. Williams stumbles a few steps backwards before he falls over another set of crates. Salazar rushes in as he starts to come up and nails him with a running knee to the face before pulling him up and whipping him down the hallway again, this time into a concrete wall. Ben Price, and Greg Salazar seems to have hit a second wind, maybe? This time when Salazar rushes up on him again, Williams pops up and gets him with what would be a drop toe hold, but it sends Salazar into a metal drum of what looks like oil for one of the elevators. Williams pulls him up again and starts to punch him about the head, trying to concentrate on where he'd already opened up his opponent. He tries to hook him for a vertical suplex and gets him up vertical, but Salazar manages to kick the wall next to him and get back to the ground. He then takes Williams over with a back body drop that lands hard on the concrete floor. Eddie Vega, that was almost a grim buster there. Can you imagine if he'd hit that on the concrete floor? Ben Price, yes, I could. It would also put our co-main event for Shadow Warfare in jeopardy. Salazar turns and pulls Williams to his feet. He grabs him by the head and runs with him until he releases him into what looks like a pile of garbage bags for the food court area. Salazar walks over to the nearby vendor, a local who sells stuff like nachos, hot dogs, and poutine. He motions to a plastic plate of poutine, and the worker nods yes. Salazar grabs it and a fork and starts to eat a bit of the fries covered in gravy and cheese curds. Eddie Vega, what is Salazar doing? Grabbing a bite to eat during a match? Williams bursts out of the pile of trash bags, heading right for GMS. He hits him with a thess press that takes them both through the door to the kitchen area at this vendor. The door gives way and breaks, and both fall through in the move to the floor of the kitchen. It appears that Salazar's snack ended up all over both of them. The worker that was behind the counter leaps over both of them and scrambles out of the combat zone. Ben Price, and they burst through the door to the kitchen. Eddie Vega, that door was on its last legs, that's for sure. Ben Price, doors don't have legs. Williams gets up, wiping hot gravy out of his eyes, and looks around the kitchen. He grabs a metal baking tray and pulls it up. He quickly brings it down onto Salazar's head as he's getting up. The tray bends, and Salazar appears to stagger just a bit. Ben Price, Greg Salazar's face is covered in blood here. Williams pulls it back one more time. He quickly looks at the camera and yells something incoherent at it. Then he swings again. Salazar grabs a fry basket from the fryer and swings it to block the hit. The two pieces of metal hit with a hollow clang. GMS then comes up and spins around to use the fry basket as the impact point for a spinning backfist that sends Williams back into the prep area. Ben Price and Greg Salazar gets back into the fight. Eddie Vega, I'm getting worried about where they're at here. Ben Price, why? Williams grabs what looks like a serving fork and thrusts it at Salazar. GMS blocks it with the fry basket. Williams tries again and again, moving forward and trying to stab at his opponent. Each time it's met with a precise Marshall-style block with the metal basket. Ben Price, hey, that's going a bit far here. Eddie Vega, well, it is a death match and we don't have any arterial spray yet. Williams thrusts one more time and Salazar sidesteps. The fork goes into the plaster wall and sinks in. Before Williams can pull it back out, Salazar slams the basket down onto his hand, making him let it go. GMS then uses a palm to force the fork into the wall so it can't be retrieved. Williams grabs Salazar and whips him to the other far wall, next to the door they'd both come in at. Salazar hits the door jamb with a thud, leaving a bit of blood on the wall. Williams comes in with a super kick, but Salazar moves out of the way. Williams kicks the door jamb and pulls his leg back. When he puts it down, he's favoring the leg. Ben Price, that super kick just hurt Eddie Williams. Eddie Vega, well, he kicked a door jamb that in these arenas is probably reinforced with a metal frame around the door. Salazar moves out from the doorway back into the hallway area. As Williams takes a tentative step, showing it is probably an impact rebound Charlie horse. He gets his footing, and then charges at Salazar. GMS grabs him and pops him up when he gets close, and then moves for what would normally be a huge haymaker elbow, but this time he's got the fry basket tucked onto that side of his arm as well. Williams takes the hit and then falls back into a standing popcorn machine, almost toppling it over. GMS then backs up, and comes in with a run and hits a jumping side kick to Williams' chest. This knocks the popcorn machine over and shatters the upper area's glass. Glass, popcorn and oil spread over an area right under where Williams lands. Williams jumps up out of the hot oil in a rush. Ben Price, Williams might need a burn unit after that one. Eddie Vega, nah, he's tougher than that. Salazar comes in and swings the fry basket down onto the back of Williams' head, finally breaking the handles on it. The basket goes flying off and back into the kitchen area in an arc. Salazar then grabs Williams and pulls him hard, grabbing the back of his head and slamming him face first into the counter in the front of the vendor's area. He then locks him into a standing rear naked choke type move, kicking one knee out and cinching it in. Ben Price, is he going to go for a submission here? Eddie Vega, he's pulled Eddie Williams away from any possible weapons to grab. Both men are bleeding profusely. He's probably figuring he needs to end this and end it quickly. Leroy Wallace steps in and starts to ask Williams if he wants to give up. He shakes his head no as much as he can. Ben Price, I think Williams is going to try to pull a Windsor and refuse to give up here. Eddie Vega, well, he might be able to get out of it still as well. I'm not sure how many times we can have people just not give up and pass out in the ring. Salazar adjusts his grip and takes his taped hand, still probably with some of the glass from earlier, and places it across Williams' forehead. He starts to rub the palm over the forehead, and Williams yells out as a newer, fresh bit of blood starts to flow out from his forehead. Wallace again asks Williams if he'll give up. Eddie Williams, no. Williams appears to droop a bit in the hold, and Salazar suddenly lets it go and snaps his head back so his cerebellum hits a hard snapping knee strike. Williams' arms go even more limp. Ben Price, what was that? Eddie Vega, I'm not sure. I've seen some cops use moves similar in some YouTube videos. You know the ones, they usually get sued afterwards. Salazar bends down and puts one of Williams' arms over his neck and then stands up, pulling Williams into an inverted fireman's carry. He takes a few steps forward, apparently heading for the broken popcorn machine. He looks at the camera and yells out. Greg Salazar, hey Riot. I hope you're watching. Ben Price, what's this? Eddie Vega, I don't like this. You've slowly been convincing me that Salazar was the guy we had here as Tetsuo Oni a year ago, right? Ben Price, yes. Eddie Vega, guerrilla warfare. Just as Eddie Vega points that out, Kara Reinhardt suddenly appears. She's got her hands up and is trying to talk to her stablemate. Ben Price, you think Salazar is going for the Oni driver? Wait, there's Kara Reinhardt. Eddie Vega, I knew it. Bad company wouldn't do this clean. Now she's going to help him win. Kara actually gets between GMS and the popcorn machine. She seems to be trying to talk to him and shaking her head. Ben Price, I think Kara Reinhardt is trying to tell him to not use that cutthroat psycho driver he used to win the Conquest Championship so long ago. He's only ever used that move in that matchup against Danzig. Eddie Vega, she's going to help him. It'll be an assisted Oni driver, and... Salazar shakes his head and drops Williams down to his feet from the inverted fireman's carry. Kara Reinhardt backs off a bit, putting her hands up, showing she's not getting involved. Salazar hooks Williams into a half Nelson, trying for a full Nelson, but Williams hits a few back elbows, slipping out of the hold a bit. Eddie Vega, there you go, Eddie. But don't go near Reinhardt. Salazar fires off with a snapping front kick that catches Williams between the uprights. He then hooks him up for a front suplex. He hooks one leg, lefts up only partially, and then throws Williams down onto the broken popcorn machine with a cradle gourd buster. Williams rolls of the carcass of the machine and falls near the customer area of the vendor. Ben Price, and GMS drops the base. Williams slowly reaches up, and realizes there is a support bar he can use to pull himself up. Salazar looks at Kara Reinhardt and nods to her. She nods back, and gives him a thumbs up. As Williams comes up to one knee, he's grabbed from behind into a full Nelson. GMS doesn't hesitate, and even with his own forehead busted open, he starts to deliver a series of headbutts to the back of Eddie Williams' head. 1, 2, 3, 4 headbutts. Eddie Vega, and there is the move that should be illegal. Ben Price, but in this match it wouldn't be. Eddie Vega or at Shadow Warfare either. Salazar pulls Williams up a bit in the hold and then lifts him up a bit straighter while holding onto the full Nelson. He quickly sweeps Williams' feet out from under him and slams his head into the electronic cash register. The device breaks into pieces. Both men fall to the ground in front of the stand. Ben Price, so much blood, so much punishment, but now both men are down. Wallace checks on both men, and the camera picks up Daniel Stitch Corgan in the background with his medical bag over his shoulder. Salazar starts to move first, and drags himself over enough to put his arm over Williams' chest. Wallace quickly drops down to count the pinfall. 1, 2, 3. Ben Price, and GMS does it. Eddie Vega, what's this do with the Maelstrom Championship? Ben Price, well, if he doesn't beat Riot for the 4 wins title in the last man standing match's Shadow Warfare, you can imagine he'll want a shot at that Maelstrom title. The question is, after episode 6, who will be the Maelstrom champion? Williams? Or Murdoch? Or Mammoth? Eddie Vega, and don't forget, Eddie Williams has announced he's going for the Elite Championship at Shadow Warfare as well. Eric Wilson, the winner of this match. The Paragon Gregory Salazar. Salazar starts to get up, using the safety rail to assist. Kara Reinhardt comes over to help him get to his feet. Once he's there, she makes sure he's stable before she steps over to where Williams is still on the ground. Daniel Stitch Corgan comes into view getting down onto his knees and putting his medical bag on the ground as she bends down to get close to Williams. The camera mic picks her up. Kara Reinhardt, hey, champ. Hope you're not too badly injured. Sure hope to see you across the ring at Shadow Warfare for that Elite Championship strap still. Get better. Ben Price, wait. Kara Reinhardt just told Eddie Williams she's also going to be in the Elite X match at Shadow Warfare. Eddie Vega, that vacant Elite Championship has everyone wanting it, just about. Ben Price, I'm being told we're late getting to commercial, so here we go. Eddie Vega, gotta get more money somehow. Core Inc. Phone. All thinking differently, together. After the commercial, the camera cuts back to the ring, wherein stands the CWF Conquest champion, Cronin. He stands in the ring with the title slung over his shoulder. Also in the ring, leaning against a turnbuckle, is Valora. Cronin looks out over the crowd and nods. Cronin Reinhardt, right. Well, hey there Calgary. Hope you guys have enjoyed the show so far and what's still to come. I hate to interrupt the proceedings, but I have some business to address. Ben Price, we have the champ. And one of the owners. This promises to be interesting. Eddie Vega, I suppose, if you're in high school. I can't see how the man could appeal to actual adults. Might be why Rob Riot has more money than Cronin would have in 20 lifetimes. Cronin paces around the ring. He seems to hear Eddie and looks at him, grinning. Cronin Reinhardt, hey dude, just because I'm not out here shouting that I'm rich and flaunting my money doesn't mean I don't have it. You do notice I don't seem to have any problem flying my entire freaking family all over the globe, right? Ben Price, think he has you there. Eddie Vega, no. Comment. Valora whistles and points at Cronin, then taps her wrist. Valora Salinas, we ain't got all night. Get to the fucking point. Ben Price, Valora, impatient as ever. Eddie Vega, she's trying to keep things flowing. We can't let egomaniacs like Cronin hog the limelight. Cronin rolls his eyes and gives a very sarcastic salute to Valora before getting back on the mic. Cronin Reinhardt, all right then. To business. Way back, in the distant past of 3 or 4 shows ago or so, a deal was made. Armand von Kraus told Rob Riot if he beat some nameless Philistine in the Fed that must not be named, he would earn a shot at me for the belt. Now, Rob Riot, being Rob Riot, he went and won. Not really because he's a top fighter, but because he was fighting an outclassed opponent. Cronin winks at the camera. Cronin Reinhardt, now, the other part of the deal was that I got to pick the stipulations. Now, after the match was made, Frankie Windsor decided he was in danger of not getting the precious camera time he so craves and then cashes in his ill-gotten gains of a tainted championship run as Valor title. He further made it clear he didn't want to wait, he wanted his shot now. For reasons passing understanding, management capitulated and gave in to his demands. Cronin looks at Valora here, who gives Cronin the finger. Ben Price, not the most professional response. Eddie Vega, that's why she's so popular, Benny boy. Cronin Reinhardt, now, to be fair to me, and mainly to ensure they did not trade a pissed-off spoiled brat for a pissed-off Federation champion, they allowed me to keep my stips. That being, I get to make the stipulations for the match. The crowd cheers here, eager to hear Cronin's pick. Ben Price, that's big news. Eddie Vega, what's he going to pick? How will he cheat this time? Cronin waits a bit to let the cheers die down a bit and continues. Cronin Reinhardt, now, Valora is out here to hear the stips and also to back up my request. I first requested the following and agreed to the counter-proposal by Valora. Valora? Valora walks over and takes the mic from Cronin. Valora Salinas, the Bastards and anyone at all affiliated with the Bastards will be barred from ringside during the match between Frank Windsor and Cronin Reinhardt. Now, to level the playing field, I added to the stip that Bad Company and the Upstarts are also banned from ringside. If you want to watch the match live, buy a fucking ticket and sit in the seats. But any wrestler from the aforementioned groups so much as steps foot in the ringside area, you're fucking fired. Members not employed by CWF will be arrested for trespassing and banned from all future CWF events. To ensure that this rule is followed, I'm naming myself a special guest referee for the match. This last part catches Cronin off guard as he turns to Valora, who smirks and gives him the finger. Valora Salinas, betcha didn't see that one comin', did you? Cronin takes the mic back and shrugs. Cronin Reinhardt, I can deal with it. Now, the actual match stipulations. They're mostly irrelevant because Frank Windsor and the Bastards can't win a match one-on-one. But my match stips are this. Frank Windsor and I will fight in a Hell in a Cell match. And I want last man standing rules. No pinfalls. No submissions. Frankie, you and I will beat the ever-living hell out of each other until one of us fails to answer a 10 count or until Valhyr determines we are unfit to continue. Cronin narrows his eyes and clears his throat. Cronin Reinhardt, Rob Riot has offered you up as a sacrificial lamb, Frank. And come Shadow Warfare, you will bleed and you will pay for the cowardice of Rob Riot. You should be careful what you ask for, Frank. You wanted me. You got me. And I'm going to give you all you want. Oh. That reminds me. Hope your shoulder heals fast. It would be a shame if I destroyed you and turned you into the proverbial one-armed man. Then your drinking buddies might be sending you to Ohio. Ben Price, oh my god. Hell in a Cell. Last man standing. Valora as special guest ref. Eddie Vega, hey now, maybe it's not that bad. Maybe Rob Riot can patch things up with Valora. Rob. Roses man. Stat. Roses and chocolate. In the ring, Cronin leaves the ring and turns in the mic he used to Eric Wilson, who sets it aside with the other spare mics. Cronin then heads up and makes his way backstage, and Valora hops over the barricades and makes her way through the crowd up towards the executive suites, and the camera fades. Ben Price, well, so far tonight, we've had a huge bit of news for Shadow Warfare already. But now, we get to head into our next matchup. Rob Riot and Tarask. Eddie Vega, I was looking for this match to come. Let's get to it. Eric Wilson, the following matchup is scheduled for one fall. Introducing first, fighting out of Manchester, England and representing the Bastards, he is the inaugural and current 4 Winds champion of the new 4 Winds Wrestling in Turf Ed, coming in at 6'3" and 245 pounds, this is the Riot star Rob Riot. I Feel You by Depeche Mode bursts through the arena P8 as the entrance ramp is bathed in red and white spotlights. They arc and twist over the ramp, waiting to pick out Rob Riot. Just as the vocals kick in, Riot steps through the curtains, twirling his long black ring jacket behind him as he does. He is, of course, sporting the new Four Winds Championship around his waist. He takes a moment to soak in the crowd's response, nodding to himself as he does, before turning his attention to the ring. Raising one arm and clenching his fist in the air, Riot walks down to the ring, now oblivious to the crowd around him. He's all business. He walks around the ring once and takes his time to climb up the steps, walking halfway along the ring and wiping his feet before he steps through the ropes. When he is in the ring, he takes off the 4 Winds Championship first, and holds it up for a few seconds, before handing it to the ring attendant. Eric Wilson, and his opponent, from parts unknown, accompanied by Jasmine Minton. He comes in at 6'7" and 375 lbs, this is the Beast Tarask. Man That You Fear by Marilyn Manson begins playing as Jasmine Minton walks out from the back to see the fans booing at her. She stands in a black gown that is adorned with black feathers. Jasmine Minton opens the curtains to reveal Tarask standing in all of his glory. He seems more built than ever as he walks out onto the entrance stage before Jasmine begins to lead him down to the ring. She stays at ringside while Tarask steps into the ring. Ding! Ding! The referee barely signals for the match to start and Riot launches himself across the ring, catching Tarask with a huge flying forearm. He starts to hammer the bigger man in the chest with forearms, moving him back to the ropes. He goes to whip Tarask to the ropes, but Tarask reverses it and sends him to the far side. Ben Price, and Rob Riot is going right at it. He's bringing the fight to the Beast. Eddie Vega, hey, didn't that guy he beat in that other interfed for what's now the Four Winds title, nicknamed the Beast? Ben Price, I think he was. Eddie Vega, Riot beats Tarask here, maybe we should call him the Beast Hunter. Tarask catches Riot as he comes off the ropes with a clothesline that flips him over into the air. However, Riot actually manages to land on one knee. Ben Price, what the? Eddie Vega, how much did that have that affected the champ here? Riot pops up to his feet and delivers a back kick to Tarask's midsection. He then grabs Tarask for a side headlock and then drops him face down with a headlock driver. He doesn't go for the pinfall. Jasmine Minton comes up onto the apron, and when the referee goes to warn her, Riot gets up and walks over to her. When she says something to him, he smirks, shakes his head and then runs across the ring to catch Tarask with a running knee to the side of his head as he's getting up off the mat. Riot follows this up by walking around Tarask and lifts his leg before slamming it knee first into the mat. Ben Price, and it seems like this match Rob Riot has decided to actually put forth an effort. Huzzah! Eddie Vega, say what you want, but Riot is a man who can pick an opponent apart. Riot repeats the maneuver of slamming Tarask's knee into the mat. Jasmine climbs onto the apron and complains, but succeeds only in distracting the ref, and Riot takes advantage of this by taking the leg and wrapping it in the ring ropes before wrenching the knee in an improvised knee lock. Riot gets a few seconds of this in before Jasmine realizes her error and drops down. Leroy Wallace turns and orders Riot to break the hold. Riot keeps the hold on a few seconds and then breaks the hold. Tarask uses the ropes to stand up and grabs Riot, punching the man in the face 3 times. He tries to pick up Riot but his freshly beaten knee doesn't hold. Tarask falls but adapts the fall into a makeshift cradle DDT. Ben Price, well I suppose there is a point there and we see more of it as Riot continues to attack the vertical base of Tarask. Still, for someone who claims to be a fighting champion, he does seem to fight more or less when he feels like it. Eddie Vega, Jesus, are you still on the last show? She wasn't worth his time. Ben Price, but Tarask is? Eddie Vega, Tarask seems to have pissed Riot off. Both fighters are slow to get up. Riot shakes his head and Tarask rubs his leg and tries to get circulation going. The two men begin a collar and elbow tie-up from their knees and stand up, vying with each other for advantage. Tarask hits Riot with a couple of knees to the gut. Riot counters with a European uppercut. Then points to Jasmine on the ringside R, bringing her up onto the apron. Leroy Wallace turns and positions himself so that he can't see Riot as he deals with Jasmine. Riot seems surprised by this but smirks and overtly kicks Tarask in the groin, bringing him to the mat with a neckbreaker. He then mounts Tarask and hammers him on the side of the head with repeated closed fist punches. He then hits an elbow drop, aimed for the small of the back on Tarask. Ben Price, well, to be fair, it seems like Riot didn't bribe Leroy, but it would seem someone did from that vintage example of shitty referring. Eddie Vega, I saw nothing illegal. Ben Price, Riot kicked his opponent right in the mommy/daddy button. Eddie Vega, I believe Rob Riot, expert wrestler that he is, would say he kicked the man on the inner thigh, which is totally legal. Rob Riot grabs Tarask in back of the head and rubs his face in the mat. Riot, like that, beast? Not so easy to injure someone who can fight back, is it? Riot stomps on the man's back and fluidly transitions into an ankle lock and from there into an STF, cinching the hold in, and Leroy moves over to check to see if there is a submission. Ben Price, STF. This could be an attempt to not only punish Tarask but to set the table for the locking clamp. Eddie Vega, I would say he definitely seems to be building towards that. But it also seems like he intends to punish Tarask. Riot's hopes of punishment take a bit of a detour when Jasmine chants something from the ringside area and Tarask roars out. Using his free leg, the man powers up to a standing position, carrying a very surprised Rob Riot with him. Tarask moves to the ropes and tries to throw Riot out of the ring, sending Riot landing on the floor hard. Ben Price, holy shit. Fans. Tarask just powered out of the hold with one leg and threw Rob Riot out of the ring. Eddie Vega, I think King Arthur from Monty Python said it best. Jesus Christ. Leroy counts, incredibly slowly, giving Riot enough time to get to his feet and lean against the barricade, where he takes a few moments to catch his breath, and to steal and drink a beer previously held by a fan. He makes his way over to the ring and moves as if to climb up but quickly grabs the legs of Tarask and yanks, knocking the man down. He hops up onto the ring apron and slingshots over the ropes into a double stomp, landing on the abdominal region of Tarask, causing the man to double up on the mat. Riot moves to rebound off the ropes on the other side, but Jasmine gets on the apron, chanting and making the gesture of thrusting her hand towards him. Riot slows his run, blinking and rubbing his eyes as if something had been thrown in them. Tarask takes the time to recover and moves over to Rob Riot, picking him up and planting him on the mat with a high-angle backdrop. Ben Price, fan poll, was this magic by Jasmine or did she throw something in Riot's face? From where I'm sitting, I didn't see anything, but Riot definitely couldn't see for a few moments there. Eddie Vega, I'm with Riot. There has to be a rational explanation. She obviously threw something in his face and we didn't or couldn't see it. I refuse to believe in this talk of hocus pocus. Tarask gets to his feet and pulls Riot to his feet. Riot responds with a straight punch to the face and then a kick to the knee of the leg he had been working on all match thus far. Tarask growls and headbutts Riot before picking the man up and locking in a bear hug, shaking the man back and forth as Riot struggles to escape. Ben Price, Tarask is starting to turn the tide here. Could we see an upset in the making? Eddie Vega, that is blasphemy Benny boy, there is no universe in which Tarask can beat Riot. Gabriel Tuck and Marcus Anderson walk out from the backstage area and make their way down to the ring. Tarask sees his friend Marcus and lets out a roar of joy as he continues to throttle Rob Riot. Jasmine, meanwhile, looks noticeably worried by the new arrivals. Ben Price, Gabriel Tuck, and who is that with him? Eddie Vega, well, he and Tarask seem to know each other. Tarask lets go of Riot in mid-shake, sending the man to the mat in a heap. As he moves over to make his way over to Marcus, Riot reaches out and trips the man, getting to his feet and locking the previously worked-on leg into a single-leg Boston Crab. Tarask reaches the ropes and Leroy forces the rope break. Tarask ignores Rob Riot and stalks towards Jasmine. Tarask, you say Marcus dead. Jasmine struggles to find something to say and points to Marcus. Jasmine Minton, he's an imposter. You saw his death. Ben Price, do we have any idea what they are talking about? Eddie Vega, none at all. Ben Price, okay, just checking. Eddie Vega, right. Riot super kicks Tarask in the back, forcing the beast forward into Jasmine, who is knocked from the apron. She gets up and begins chanting, pointing at Rob Riot, but a hooded figure comes out from the crowd and cracks Jasmine in back of the head, knocking her out cold. The figure pulls her hood back and reveals herself to be Valora. Valora Salinas, a lead pipe stops that magic shit good, huh, Puta? Rob Riot smiles and nods at Valora, who returns the nod, giving Riot a wink as she blows Riot a kiss and makes her way to the backstage area, patting Marcus on the shoulder and saying a brief word as she passes him. Ben Price, Valora Salinas. She just saved Rob Riot. Eddie Vega, she does have a point, a lead pipe to the head took care of Jasmine's mumbo-jumbo. Tarask watches events unfold outside the ring, thoroughly distracted and seemingly having forgotten there is a match going on. Rob Riot takes advantage, bringing Tarask to the mat with a German suplex and transitioning Tarask over and locking in his version of the heel lock. Ben Price, locking clamp. Riot takes advantage of the distraction and cinches in that locking clamp finishing maneuver. Eddie Vega, stick a fork in him, my friend, he's donezo. Tarask roars as he tries to break the hold, but the more he fights, the more Rob Riot cinches in. Finally Tarask cries out and pounds on the mat. Leroy Wallace turns and calls for the bell, but Riot refuses to break the hold. Ben Price, that's it. Tarask forced to tap out, but Riot doesn't seem to want to break the hold. Eddie Vega, see what I mean? Maybe it's better for Kara that she didn't attract the full attention of Rob Riot. He would have ended her career. Leroy orders Rob Riot to break the hold, but Riot shakes his head and cinches it in more. Finally breaking it as Tuck and Marcus enter the ring, Marcus immediately moving to check on Tarask as Rob Riot backs off, exiting the ring and collecting his title belt before making his way to the backstage area, a smug, satisfied smirk on his face. Ben Price, well, Rob Riot came in and certainly made a statement. But there is so much we need to know about what's going on here. Eddie Vega, hopefully the newcomer can give us those answers because I know 5-year-olds with a better grasp of language than Tarask. In the ring, Marcus is checking on Tarask and getting him to focus. Tarask suddenly sits up, groaning in pain as he does so. He grabs Marcus in a bear hug and squeezes him tight. Tarask, me so happy. Jasmine say you dead, show me that you dead. Marcus Anderson, breathing. Tarask releases Marcus, who catches his breath a bit before speaking. Marcus Anderson, Jasmine did something to you. She tried to have me killed. Armand tried to have me killed. I still live. We are joined again. How are you upright? Tarask just shrugs. Tarask, something about blood of old gods and needle. Marcus Anderson, oh. Tarask's attention turns to ringside where Jasmine Minton is standing on the ring apron, blood running down her back to drip onto the mat from the back of her head. She looks furious. Jasmine Minton, I have had just about enough. All 3 of you can go into the night lands. Gabriel Tuck, there's an important difference between this time we fight and the last time we fought. Jasmine Minton, what's that? Gabriel Tuck draws his heavy revolver from his hip and shoots Jasmine in the center of the chest to the screams of the crowd. She falls backwards to the concrete floor, blood beginning to pool around her. Gabriel Tuck, ammo. EMTs begin rushing down to ringside while Daniel Corgan greets them at Jasmine's side before looking into the ring at Gabriel and mouthing what the fuck. They begin working on Jasmine to staunch the flow of blood and get her onto a stretcher to get her to the ambulance that is normally on standby for wrestler injury. Marcus Anderson, we're in a wrestling ring, dude. You shot her? Gabriel puts the gun away and motions to Tarask. Gabriel Tuck, Armand will hold off the local police until after my match with Abigail, but it's not like I hadn't been to jail before and for less noble reasons. Marcus helps Tarask up, who is limping some as he walks. Marcus grabs Gabriel in a hug. Marcus Anderson, thank you for helping save our lives and bringing me back to Tarask. How can I ever repay you? Gabriel Tuck, breathing. Marcus releases Gabriel with a goofy smile. Marcus Anderson, right. Let's head to the back so you can get called out again. Gabriel Tuck, why the fuck not? Ben Price, well, that's going to give us time to go to another commercial and pay some more bills. CWF presents Shadow Warfare. Eddie Vega breaking it up. Welcome back to Warzone. We've had some bangers for you tonight, and this one is promising to be another one. Gabriel Tuck finally getting a shot at the Valor Championship, held by Abigail Dresden. She should change her name. Ben Price, what to? Eddie Vega, Abigail Riot. Ben Price, not sure that would be the best. But let's go to the ring. Eric Wilson, ladies and gentlemen, the next match is set for one fall and it is for the CWF Valor Championship. Introducing first, the challenger. He comes from the road standing 6 feet, 2 inches tall and weighing in at 245 pounds. He is Gabriel Tuck. Iron Wolf by Beast Wars begins as Gabriel Tuck walks out from the back. Howls to the fans and a fair number of them howl back. This pleases him enough that he howls even loud, which the fans respond even louder. He makes his way down to the ring, slapping a few high fives on the way and generally being open with his fans, even stopping to take the occasional selfie with them. Ben Price, and here we have Gabriel Tuck. Challenging for the Valor title, and he has a chance to be the first wrestler in service to the Von Kraus duo to win a title. Eddie Vega, well, I suppose he has a chance, but that chance requires him to go through Abigail Dresden, who has been riding a massive hot streak. Not sure I'd be excited about this title opportunity. Eric Wilson, and introducing his opponent. She hails from Swansea, Wales, in the United Kingdom. Standing 5 feet, 9 inches tall and weighing in at 175 pounds. She is a member of the Upstarts and is the reigning and defending CWF Valor champion, Abigail Dresden. The arena darkens and a mist begins to form around as Phoenix by Fall Out Boy plays over the PA. Abigail emerges from the mist, pausing at the entryway as she looks over the crowd and pats the Valor title slung over her shoulder, then takes a deep breath, looking at the ground before jumping as she pumps her arms to get the crowd fired up before she then unleashes a flurry of warm-up punches, ending it with a roar as she jumps into the air and punches the ground, a blast of pyro going off behind her as she makes her way down the entryway, greeting fans and the like before reaching the ring and jumping up onto the apron and slingshotting herself over the ropes, rolling up to her feet and throwing a few more warm-up punches before moving back to her corner to await the start of the fight. Ben Price, Abigail coming down to the ring, and this time it looks like she is not coming to the ring with one of her allies in the Upstarts. Eddie Vega, well, her opponent isn't one of the bastards, so maybe she feels she doesn't need the backup? If it were me, I'd always opt for safety in numbers. But, speaking of the bastards, some of my contacts have leaked to me that they saw Abigail, Valora and Rob Riot having a discussion in Calgary Tower, and during that meeting Abigail's father challenged his daughter to win via submission tonight. It should be interesting to see if she takes him up on that challenge or continues to forge her own path. Ben Price, you have sources? Eddie Vega, yeah, I have sources. Inside the ring, Ashley Beaton takes the Valor title from Abigail and holds it up before handing it to Eric Wilson, who takes it and leaves the ring. After conferring with the fighters, she calls for the bell. Ding! Ding! Ben Price, here we go, folks. Valor title on the line as Abigail goes for defense number 3. Eddie Vega, I actually put money on you for once, kid. You lose and I swear to. In the ring, Gabriel Tuck signals for a tie-up. Abigail agrees and engages in a collar and elbow tie-up only to quickly transition into an arm drag and brings Tuck to the mat. Tuck bounces up only to be caught in another arm drag. He bounces up again and again gets another arm drag. Abigail takes a break to dance to celebrate the start as Tuck gets to a knee and smirks before charging and hitting Abigail from behind with a clothesline that knocks the Welsh rookie inside out and deposits her on the mat. Ben Price, Abigail, obviously utilizing some of her mother's training, feigned the collar and elbow but hit a series of arm drag takedowns. Eddie Vega, yeah, but the rookie made a mistake by not staying on her opponent, and safe to say he knocked her block off with that clothesline. Gabriel Tuck wastes no time as he literally kicks Abigail while she's down, kicking and stomping on her rib cage. Eventually Abigail catches one of the kicks and moves, transitioning into an ankle lock, which she holds for a few seconds before transitioning into an STF. Gabriel Tuck reaches out, trying to make it to the ropes. His bigger size helps him as the crowd cheers, eager to see Abigail get a quick and emphatic win, but Tuck's bigger size allows him to slowly move Abigail to the ropes, and he grabs the ropes. Ashley Beaton tells Abigail to break the hold and is as surprised as the crowd when Abigail refuses to relinquish the hold. Ashley Beaton, damn it, Dresden. Break the hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. Abigail breaks the hold just before the 5 count and stands up, backing off a bit as Ashley checks on Gabriel Tuck. Ben Price, all right, well, credit to you and your sources, Eddie. I don't believe we've ever seen Abigail try an ankle lock or an STF, and she definitely showed a more ruthless tactic that both of her parents would approve of. Eddie Vega, I like it, Benny boy. Abigail has 5 seconds to break a hold. There's nothing wrong with getting a few extra seconds to wear your opponent down. In the ring, Gabriel Tuck gets to his feet with a smirk on his face. He calls for another collar and elbow tie-up, and this time, Abigail meets him and the two lock up, only for Gabriel Tuck to instantly use his bigger size to push Abigail back into the corner by the turnbuckle. He picks her up and drops her forehead first onto the turnbuckle. Abigail hits the turnbuckle and bounces back, Gabriel Tuck picking her up from behind and planting her on the mat with a high-angle backdrop. Letting out a howl to the crowd, Gabriel measures Abigail, and as she gets to her feet, Gabriel Tuck springboards off the corner and hits Abigail with a cutter. Ben Price, Gabriel Tuck is starting to swing momentum his way now. That last exchange was pretty much all Tuck. Eddie Vega, she has to find a way to get back into things. Or Tuck is going to end her streak right here. Abigail struggles to get to her feet, shaking her head as the crowd rallies behind her, urging her on. Gabriel Tuck runs in and hits Abigail with a curb stomp, jumping and slamming his foot into the back of Abigail's head, driving her forehead into the mat. Ben Price, dirty stomp. That could be it, and even if it isn't, Abigail could easily be concussed with all the blows to the head she's taken in a short amount of time. Eddie Vega, gotta wonder what a title win would do for Gabriel's stock with Armand and Esmeralda. Gabriel goes quickly into a small package-style pinfall. Ashley slides in. 1, 2. Abigail counters, rolling over and pinning Gabriel. 1, 2. Gabriel turns over again and pins Abigail. 1, 2. Abigail rolls over and the pair actually roll over. Ashley Beaton and Abigail pins Gabriel once both fighters return to the mat. 1, 2. Ben Price, and that was some impressive mat wrestling there from two fighters you don't really expect that from. A series of near falls there. Eddie Vega, poor Ashley Beaton, those two rolled right over her. Both fighters get to their feet and take a moment to steady their equilibriums. Gabriel offers a hand and Abigail quickly shakes it as the crowd applauds the near fall into near fall series. Abigail looks around and decides to try something completely different. She lets out a howl of her own as she twirls her hand in a circle. She rebounds off the ropes and builds up a full head of steam before moving into a crossbody, which turns into a spinning move. Abigail spins around Gabriel Tuck a full 4 or 5 times before bringing him to the mat with a head scissors takedown. Abigail springboards off the ropes into a beautiful moonsault. Coming to her feet and celebrating, pumping her fist in celebration as the crowd comes to their feet. Ben Price, well folks, that was pure Valorous training right there. Abigail went full on lucha libre, hitting an extended head scissors takedown and moving seamlessly into a springboard moonsault. Eddie Vega got her mom's emotion too, very obvious. Abigail is happy to have nailed that combination correctly. But it might have been a mistake to not go for the cover there. Gabriel Tuck gets to his feet and shakes his head as Abigail tries to follow up the attack only to be cut off by a kick to the gut, followed by a palm thrust to the solar plexus and an uppercut to the jaw that knocks Abigail flat on her back. Gabriel Tuck, really gotta learn to stay focused on the fight, kid. Tuck picks Abigail up and brings her to the mat with a belly-to-belly suplex. He maintains the hold, pulling her up and planting her again. He tries for a third, but Abigail headbutts him in the chest, steps on his foot and kicks him in the sciatic nerve, bringing a grunt of pain before she counter with a European uppercut, knocking Gabriel Tuck a step or two back. Abigail charges and tries for a spear, but Gabriel Tuck dodges and Abigail flies through the ropes and lands hard into and at the barricades, the crowd groaning at the big miss. Ben Price, well fans, we call that high risk for a reason. Gabriel and Abigail got into a bit of brawling there, but she went for the big move and Gabriel was one step ahead of her and she might be out cold. Eddie Vega, but this is potentially good for her, Benny boy. If she's counted out, she retains. Ashley Beaton begins counting. Gabriel Tuck realizes what this means and slides out of the ring to break up the count and picks Abigail up, carrying her over to the ring and setting her on the apron. He climbs in and pulls her to her feet, bringing her into the ring. Ben Price, Gabriel Tuck doesn't seem willing to let Abigail get off that easy. Eddie Vega can't fault him for that, really. Abigail cuts off whatever Gabriel was thinking with a series of elbows to the gut and a European uppercut. Abigail whips Gabriel Tuck into the ropes, but he counters and sends Abigail into the ropes. She rebounds off and he tries for a clothesline, but Abigail ducks under it and hits a Pele kick, bringing Gabriel to the mat. Ben Price, Pele kick. Another move Abigail would seem to have learned from Valora, although on this night, Abigail's was a bit different. Eddie Vega, how so? Ben Price, well, Valora goes pretty much full vertical. When she kicks her opponent, she is completely upside down. Abigail was almost horizontal and her kicks seemed to be more soccer style with some martial arts to it than lucha libre style. Eddie Vega might explain why her kicks seemed to pack a bit more oomph. In the ring, Abigail drags Gabriel a bit, positioning him, before she hops up onto the top turnbuckle. Looking up at the roof, she lets out a brief yell and lifts her right leg up and moves it up until her foot is higher than her head and she slowly extends and drops down into a split-legged position onto Gabriel Tuck. Ben Price, Abigail calls that move the flying fire crotch guillotine leg drop and another first for her, the first time she's pulled that out. Eddie Vega, that lucky son of a. Ben Price, she's still 17, Eddie. Eddie Vega, well. We're in Canada. What's age of consent up here? Ben Price, remember. Valora Salinas and Rob Riot are her parents. Eddie Vega, that is. An excellent point. Abigail moves into a pinfall attempt and Ashley Beaton slides into count. 1, 2. THRNO. Ben Price, Gabriel Tuck kicks out right at the last second. Eddie Vega, win or lose tonight, I think Gabriel Tuck is sending a message that he is a fighter to be taken seriously. He's giving Abigail a fight here tonight. Abigail pounds the mat in frustration and takes a breath as she gets up to her feet. As Gabriel gets to his feet and turns to go for Abigail, she grabs him and plants him with a reverse STO. She then wraps her legs around and locks in her version of the Koji clutch submission. Ben Price, Celtic clutch. Abigail is indeed going for a submission win. Eddie Vega, yeah, but again, if you have to lose. Ben Price, Eddie, she has spider wrapped around his neck cutting off oxygen to his brain. I don't think he's enjoying this. Eddie Vega, he works for Armand and Esmeralda. Who knows what he's into? Gabriel Tuck tries to find a way out of the hold or to the ropes as Ashley slides in and checks for the submission. Ben Price, look at his face, all the blood rushing to his face. Turning red. Eddie Vega, almost purple at the moment, Benny boy. Gabriel tries to make it to the ropes but he stalls out and finally, left with no choice, he taps out and Ashley Beaton calls for the bell. Ding! Ding! Ben Price, he taps out, a big win for Abigail as she secures title defense number 3. Eddie Vega, I can't wait to cash in. This bet paid off big time for me. Eric Wilson, ladies and gentlemen, your winner and still CWF Valor champion, Abigail Dresden. Ben Price, 2 more. 2 more defenses and Abigail gets a shot at any title she wants. We have to wonder what title she will go after. Eddie Vega, if she's smart, the only real choice is the Conquest title or the 4 Wins title, but it is something she'll have to begin to think about. Ben Price, what's going on now? Eddie Vega, Abigail Dresden just won? Ben Price, no, look. Several local policemen are heading down to the ring with serious intent in their eyes. Gabriel nods to Abigail and rolls out of the ring and puts his hands into the air so that the police can roughly put them behind his back and cuff him. They begin leading him to the back so they can take him to a waiting car. Ben Price, well, I mean he did shoot Jasmine Minton live on the air in front of thousands of fans here and millions of fans abroad. Eddie Vega, I'd say it was self-defense, but yeah. He should have known that this was going to happen. Ben Price, one last commercial, ladies and gentlemen, and then it's time for a Conquest Championship defense. Where your stalkers can follow, but can't post, because we want their personal info, not their opinion. Facetwater. Verifying the verified. The show comes back and we're not at the announcer's table. Ben Price, welcome back once again. We're almost ready for Cronin Reinhardt to defend the Conquest Championship against Iro Waters, but first I'm told we're heading to the locker room for something. Cronin is in his locker room with Raven and Lily as they go over last-minute preparations. Lily Reinhardt, sucks that it took some back and forth, but at least they let you handle the title your way. This should be a good way to break that curse. Cronin gives his wife a wry smile, but before he can say anything, Alyssa Lucci comes in. Alyssa Lucci, Cronin. One quick question before your match. Do you have any response to the Bastards and possibly other wrestlers and fans who might see this as a cheap tactic to be the first one to successfully defend the Conquest title? Cronin shrugs. Cronin Reinhardt, you know Alyssa, one thing I've learned is that opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one. The Bastards are massive ones and nothing you do is going to stop people from talking. There is no such thing as a guaranteed win. Iro Waters could pull a massive upset. Even if he doesn't, I have to turn right around and defend the belt against Frank Windsor at the pay-per-view. Assuming I get by him, which I plan to, there's a decent line of potent contenders. So anyone who feels I'm taking it easy in this match should feel better at the prospect of quality challengers. But more than that, Alyssa. I mean what I said. Every Fed I've ever been in the top title has been passed around a small handful of wrestlers. I'm tired of that. I'm willing to open things up. The haters can try to compare me to Apollo Creed or something if they want, now I have to get ready. Alyssa nods. Alyssa Lucci, thank you, Cronin, and good luck, tonight. Sorry if I sound cynical, it's just, altruism is rare in this business. Cronin laughs and nods. Cronin Reinhardt, tell me about it. Alyssa leaves and before the trio resume the door opens again and Esmeralda walks in. Lily immediately narrowed her eyes. Lily Reinhardt, the hell are you doing here? Esmeralda doesn't even reply to Lily walking up to Cronin, appraising him as she takes in his build. Esmeralda von Krauss, our homeland still produces the finest specimens. I thought I'd come by and wish you luck, after your victory, perhaps we can celebrate. Raven Reinhardt, ugh, I think I'm going to be sick. Esmeralda looks at Raven and smiles. Esmeralda von Krauss, ah, the young one. Still wanting training, yes? I could arrange that. I have many warriors amongst my judges. I'm sure they could teach you much. Lily takes a step towards Esmeralda. Lily Reinhardt, you have some gall to come in and hit on my husband in front of me and then plan to take my daughter. Esmeralda turns and rolls her eyes. Esmeralda von Krauss, I am not looking for a husband, I have that already. My husband has his amusements, I have mine. Cronin interjects here. Cronin Reinhardt, well, that's a mental picture I didn't need. Also, we don't swing. The door is behind you. Esmeralda trails a finger down Cronin's chest before quickly moving up and kissing him on the lips, a kiss that is not returned by Cronin, and then winks at Cronin. Esmeralda von Krauss, I think you'll change your mind. If not you, perhaps Armand and I can convince your sister to have some more fun. Cronin growls and steps forward, but Esmeralda exists and Lily places a hand on Cronin. Lily Reinhardt, deal with her later. For now, match. Cronin growls and grabs his title belt as he finishes preparations. Ben Price, the hell was that? Eddie Vega, a randy German woman who must have a death wish as she is risking a gypsy curse? Ben Price, Romani curse. The G word is a problematic word that most Romani consider an ethnic slur given the negative stereotypes it engenders. Eddie Vega, I'll try to remember that, not because I care about the softer word crap, but because I don't want to be on the receiving end of the evil eye. Ben Price, anyways, let's go to Eric Wilson in the ring before we're fired and replaced by Jessica Carr and Victoria Hill. Eric Wilson, ladies and gentlemen, the next match is our main event of the evening and it is for the CWF Conquest Championship. Eric pauses as the crowd cheers, at the rare opportunity to see a Conquest title match outside of a pay-per-view. Ben Price, well, Cronin was already popular with the crowd, but this decision seems to be going over well with the fans. Eddie Vega, that might be true, but what the hell do these fans know about anything? Eric Wilson, introducing first, the challenger. He hails from Paradise, California. Standing 6 feet, 3 inches tall and weighing in at 230 pounds. He is the man with the cannon arm, Iro Waters. The opening riff of Built to Last by the Protoman hits, and Iro Waters walks to the ring casually and fist bumps a few fans, undaunted by tonight's challenge. He climbs into the ring, hops up to the second rope of the nearest turnbuckle, and gives the crowd a thumbs up. Ben Price, and here comes Iro Waters in what is without a doubt the biggest match of his CWF career to date. Eddie Vega, opportunity of a lifetime. Eric Wilson, and introducing next, the reigning and defending CWF Conquest Champion. He hails from Dresden, Germany. Standing 6 feet, 8 inches tall and weighs in at 275 pounds. He is the German suplex machine, Cronin Reinhardt. Silence falls over the arena as the lights dim and Song by Rammstein plays over the PA. Cronin walks out from the back and pauses at the top of the entryway, giving the crowd time to notice who it is and react as he surveys the crowd briefly and raises the Conquest title up into the air, displaying it to the crowd before resting it over his shoulder and letting his gaze fall on the ring, and he nods once before making his way to the ring with a measured, deliberate pace as he easily steps up onto the ring apron and over the ropes with minimum effort. Ben Price, and here comes the champ. The Conquest Championship has infamously never been successfully defended before. You could say Cronin is hoping to get by that by fighting a lower-ranked opponent, and Cronin was sure to have enraged Frank Windsor further by saying that Iro Waters was more of a worthy contender than Windsor. Eddie Vega, I want to criticize Cronin for that, but then again, that curse of failing to defend the Conquest title is a real thing, and that definitely gives Iro some hope for an upset here. Scott Jones takes the CWF Conquest Champion title from Cronin and holds the belt up, showing it to the fighters and the crowd before handing it off to Eric Wilson, who takes the belt and leaves the ring. As Eric leaves the ring, Scott Jones goes over instructions for the match to the two wrestlers. Both men nod and give each other a fist bump as they back up to their corners, and Scott Jones calls for the bell. Ding! Ding! As the match begins, Waters charges forward at full speed and tries for a clothesline, but Cronin catches him and plants him with a belly-to-belly suplex. Coming to his feet, Cronin pulls Iro Waters up, but Iro counters with a couple of punches to Cronin's gut and sends Cronin staggering back with an uppercut. Iro runs and jumps up, bringing Cronin to the mat with modified reverse STO-style move. Ben Price, good start by both fighters, and Iro Waters said he planned to come into this fight to prove that men like Riot and Cronin could still fall with one good swing. He has gone after Cronin with that fearless spirit. Eddie Vega, yeah, but that spirit needs to be tempered with some respect. Cronin is the top champ for a reason, after all. In the ring, Iro Waters rebounds off the ropes and tries for another jumping clothesline, but Cronin counters with a bicycle-style jump kick that knocks Iro to the mat in a heap. Cronin shakes his head and pulls Iro to his feet. Iro throws a few punches, hitting Cronin with a flurry of punches, but Cronin measures the man and sends him to the mat with a big right hand. Cronin rebounds off the ropes, and as Iro gets to his feet, he is knocked right back down to the mat with a shoulder block. Ben Price, Cronin, seeming to be implementing his plan of controlling the tempo of the match. Eddie Vega, well, this was always a mismatch. Cronin seemed offended by the suggestion, but let's keep it 100 as the kids say, this match is a tune-up match for Cronin. He's aware of that himself when he compared himself to Apollo Creed in the interview with Alyssa Lucci. Cronin pulls Iro to his feet and Iro cuts him off with a jawbreaker. He then hits Cronin with a boot to the gut and plants him with a DDT. He pulls Cronin to his feet and he tries for a vertical suplex, but Cronin out of nowhere counters, picking Iro Waters up and planting him on the mat with an Olympic slam. Ben Price, Olympic slam. Cronin counters and hits the Olympic slam. Eddie Vega, this could be it. Cronin moves over into a pinfall situation, Scott Jones moving over to make the count. 1, 2. No. Ben Price, Iro just barely kicks out. Eddie Vega, come on. Cronin can't even keep Iro Waters down for a 3 count but expects to be able to compete against Rob Riott and Frank Windsor? Cronin lets out a breath and nods, getting up and pulls Iro to his feet, clubbing Iro on the back, doubling him over. He clubs Iro again and Iro counters with a couple of elbow blows into Cronin's gut. Iro rebounds off the ropes and tries to follow up, but Cronin counters with a clothesline that sends Iro to the mat. Cronin rebounds off the ropes and jumps into the air as he tries for an elbow drop, but Iro rolls out of the way and Cronin hits nothing but mat. Ben Price, Cronin goes right back to work on the back of Iro Waters, but Waters fights back and manages to avoid an elbow drop. Eddie Vega, and now Cronin has created an opening for Iro Waters to get back into the match. Cronin gets to his feet, shaking his arm, trying to get the stinging feeling out of it. Iro sees this and grabs Cronin's arm and wrenches on the arm, holding it for a second before wrenching the arm again. He tries to bring Cronin down with an arm drag, but Cronin blocks the attempt and counters with a knee to the small of the back and picks Iro up and plants him on the mat with a backdrop. Iro rolls through the impact and gets to his feet, holding his back, but rebounds off the ropes and meets Cronin as he tries to get back to his feet with a spinning neckbreaker that brings him to the mat. Ben Price, Cronin's arm suffering from that miss, Iro wisely tried to take advantage but wasn't able to fully capitalize. Cronin keeps working on the small of Iro's back. Eddie Vega, yeah, and Iro hit a spinning neckbreaker on Cronin. I can't believe this big goof might actually find a way to lose to Iro. Ben Price, well, if Cronin does lose the title here, I think even the most skeptical CWF wrestlers will start to wonder if the belt is cursed. Eddie Vega, yeah. Cronin or Iro? Whoever comes out of this match the champ, grab an old priest and a young priest and do an exorcism. In the ring, Iro Waters takes a moment to plan his next move and gets an idea as Cronin slowly sits up. Iro charges forward and moves into a baseball slide and nails Cronin with a clothesline. Ben Price, the slider, Iro Waters comes in with a slider and knocks Cronin flat. Eddie Vega, that's it. Even if this big moron gets past Iro, Frank Windsor will eat him for lunch. Iro Waters moves over into a cover and Scott Jones makes the count. 1, 2. Ben Price, Cronin kicks out at 2. Eddie Vega, how lucky can one man get? In the ring, Iro pounds the mat in frustration. Both fighters get to their feet and lock into a collar and elbow tie-up. They struggle for a few moments as both men try to get an advantage over each other. The two men trade knees to each other's gut and Iro tries to hit a vertical suplex but Cronin blocks it. Iro breaks the tie-up and hits Cronin on the chest with a big chop on his chest. Crowd, WOO. Cronin returns the chop, hitting Iroh with a knife-edge chop of his own. Crowd, WOO. Iroh Waters grits his teeth and returns the favor, bringing another woo from the crowd. Cronin retaliates with a ridge hand-style chop in the style Greg Salazar uses, the chop hitting harder than the knife-edge chop. Ben Price, a series of chops here, and these two continue to battle to gain an advantage over each other. Eddie Vega, Benny Boy, this match has gone on entirely too long. Cronin should have been able to put this man away by now. Iroh Waters hits Cronin with a flurry of punches and sends Cronin into the ropes. As he rebounds off the ropes and hits a power slam, Iroh tries for a jumping elbow drop, but Cronin moves out of the way, rolling to his feet. Both men charge and hit each other with the same move, dual clotheslines that send both men to the mat. The crowd cheering and rallying for Cronin to get up and get back into the match. Ben Price, Iroh Waters and Cronin had the same idea there, and both men end up down on the mat. Eddie Vega, I still can't believe this match is that close. Cronin slowly pulls himself to his feet, shaking his head. Iroh also gets to his feet, using the ropes to pull himself up to his feet. Cronin makes his way over. Iroh hits Cronin with a boot to the gut and then repeats and tries for a DDT, but Cronin counters with a Northern Lights suplex. Cronin pulls Iroh to his feet and hits a backbreaker, once more targeting the small of the back. Ben Price, well, you got your wish. Cronin is starting to build some momentum now, and it looks like he might be gearing up for Eddie Vega, small package, by Iroh, but Cronin kicks out. Iroh grabs Cronin and tries to whip him into the ropes, but Cronin reverses the move, and as Iroh rebounds off the rope, Cronin catches Iroh and spins around 3 times before planting Iroh with a black hole slam, the crowd jumping to their feet. Ben Price, beautiful disaster. No matter how many times I see that move pulled off, I never get tired of it. Eddie Vega, I suppose it looks alright, for a basic move named after a song from a band of dubious talent. Cronin moves and pins Iroh, Scott Jones sliding in to make the count. 1, 2, 3, no. Ben Price, Iroh barely kicks out. Cronin was less than a fraction of a count from victory. Eddie Vega, I'll give the kid credit, he really is out to make the most of this opportunity. Ben Price, and that is what Cronin is looking to accomplish by opening up competition. Eddie Vega, yeah, well, it might still blow up in his damn face. In the ring, Cronin moves up to his knees and looks to the ceiling, letting out a breath and nods, impressed with his opponent. He then gets up to his feet and quickly locks Iroh Waters into the sharpshooter. Ben Price, Dresden Deathlock. Can Cronin make Iroh tap, or can Iroh find a way out of the hold? Eddie Vega, well, unless Iroh can make it to the ropes, I don't think he's escaping anything. Iroh Waters tries to make for the ropes, but Cronin has the hold locked in and cinches back, causing Iroh to cry out in pain and grab his hair in an attempt to avoid tapping. He slowly moves forward a small distance, but Cronin pulls him back to the middle of the ring and cinches back on the hold, and Iroh cries out and taps. Scott Jones sees this and calls for the bell as the crowd cheers. Ding! Ding! Ben Price, he's tapping. He tapped out. Cronin has broken the curse. Eddie Vega, he better step up his game if he plans to hang with the bastards, though. Eric Wilson, ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the match and still the CWF Conquest champion, Cronin Reinhardt. Cronin takes the title as it's handed back to him and helps Iroh stand up, patting him on the shoulder, and the two shake hands before Cronin leaves the ring and makes his way back to the backstage area. Ben Price, so the curse of the Conquest title is officially broken. Cronin has just now become the first fighter to successfully defend the belt. Eddie Vega, yeah, but if the bastards had done something like this, you would have criticized it. There's still complaints about how Frank Windsor defended his Valor title. Ben Price, yeah, and according to you, Rob Riot, Frank Windsor, and Valora, the ends justify the means, right? Eddie Vega, I suppose. Ben Price, well, that's all the time we have for tonight. Be on the lookout for the official announcement of the final card for Shadow Warfare. Eddie Vega, the Vanguard pre-show will be coming to you from the PV Mart Centrium in Red Deer, Alberta, Canada. Ben Price, and the main show will be coming to you from Rogers Place in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Eddie Vega, we're looking at a hell of a show so far. And only more to be added to it. Ben Price, that's all we have tonight, and remember. Both, #JOINTHECONQUEST.